concealed weapons under the laws of chivalry, all of it. A dagger, later a musket, a grenade, a granado. You do not conceal, you never conceal a weapon. So that's how they said, we'll give you a permit to have a gun, to create the perception that you've got to have a permit to have a gun. You've only got to have a permit because it's illegal. A permit, a license is an authorization, a letter of marque to do something that is illegal. That's why when they start licensing travel or licensing having a passport or licensing owning a home or having a business, they've made it illegal and they can revoke it. This is ancient common law they're overthrowing. And so that's why one of the greatest modern civil rights, human rights movements out there, unalienable, unalienable, God-given right exercises, people carrying AK-47s, M16s, that are semi-auto, handguns, rifles, shotguns openly. I remember more than a decade ago, the new Black Panther Party marched around in Houston with loaded shotguns. And even though I didn't agree with their thing of get whitey, I said I admired their courage. And they actually created the precedent for conservative and libertarian and patriot groups of all races and colors to start carrying AR-15s, MAC-90s, M1 Grands, range rifles, handguns in public. And at first the police would try to arrest people. They'd lose the lawsuits. Then they try to intimidate people. And now police all over the country are standing down and understand it. And the media doesn't know how to deal with it because they've been running sitcoms and dramas where they show the image of all guns being illegal. All the sitcoms and dramas and cop shows are based in New York. In these TV shows, they pull them over and they go, you got a gun. That's 10 years in jail. And then when some carpet cleaner's in your house and sees a case of guns, they run out and call the police. And you're like, why are you calling the police? Guns, guns. I'm like, you're not from Texas, are you? So listen, mister, don't. They see a gun on a cop, they feel good. They see one on a fellow slave, it's like, because they're a TV head. So we're openly with our guns out in public. It's totally freaking the system out. Totally. They don't know what to do anymore with this. So all of that is now unfolding. And so they're coming in and saying they want to revoke a privilege. Now, it's a law that you can have this concealed carry in Florida. I remember when they introduced it more than a decade ago, their crime rate went down 24% within 1 year. I remember that was in the big Florida national papers, 20+%. 24, 25, I think it was 24. You can look it up. But let's see if they get away with this. Just saying, well, or they're now declaring that the Secret Services hold towns' national security events where, the feds say you can't do this. In fact, I saw some new articles where the feds are trying to pass a national law against talking on cell phones, period, even if it's hands-free, which studies show is very safe. Texting is 5 times more dangerous than even talking on your phone handheld. 5 times. And let me tell you, it is an epidemic. Something has to be done about that. It's reckless driving. Don't need a law. Cop sees you recklessly driving on your cell phone, sees you doing it, you should go to jail for reckless driving. Isn't that a felony last time I checked? See, the old law, the old common law, it's got it all. And what's the cop? What's the cop doing? What is the police officer doing? He is hired by the state, that's by the legislature, and empowered under citizens' arrest powers to then be trained. The public's made the decision to give citizens' arrest powers to this person that already has them and then specially train them. That's where police came from. See, but they're trying to take your citizens' arrest power away. And they're telling police, let's write new laws that just go after everybody. Not about what they actually do, but what they do as a pre-crime and make everyone guilty and then have the cell phones surveil you that are you moving at a speed down the road? Do we know that you're using the phone? Then you get automatic tickets. That is the next phase in all of this. Okay, continuing here. This is a big deal to understand the history of this. City wants executive order to ban concealed carry in Tampa during RNC, turning a right into a privilege that can be revoked by bureaucrats. Tampa City Council wants Governor Rick Scott to pass an executive order banning concealed carry to coincide with protests in Republican National Convention later this year. Yeah, some of the reports are they're asking for a statewide ban, not just there in Tampa. I gotta love that because the RNC's coming. The thousands of protesters expected at the Democratic and Republican National Conventions can come armed with a lot more than signs and slogans. State law in Florida and North Carolina allows concealed weapons, including guns. Oh my gosh, reports the Sacramento Bee. Including guns? They have a gun? The Tampa City Council wants Scott to issue an executive order preventing people with concealed weapons permits from carrying guns. The executive order is required because, according to Florida law, local officials, not servants, are prohibited from preemptive actions against state gun statutes. Yeah, of course. They've had cities try to do it, but you can't. This move represents yet another effort to turn a right into a privilege and creates the pretext that fundamental liberties can be revoked by local bureaucrats when the mood takes them. Yeah, the Dallas Morning News and the Observer, Dallas Observer, are reporting for $110 for 5 days, the school book depository building that's a propaganda center for the lie that one guy killed JFK when 90+% of Americans in major polls don't believe it. Anyone who doesn't believe the official story is not allowed into Dealey Plaza. The city park is being leased for $110 for 5 days. So the international media, they admit in the news, they say, so that the kooks can't be in front of the media, the 90+% of the citizens. Again, this is the new no free speech zone system. So I'll be there, not this November, but the 50th, coming up in over a year. I'll be there. I'm calling for tens of thousands to be there for the First Amendment. This will backfire on them. But they're really trying all of this. Now, we're going to go to break and come back with your calls, but let me get into news of the bizarro now. I'm going to start doing this every single day. Here's a report out of CBS News. Hawk snatches Shauna Moakler's dog from her home in Calabasas, California. She says one dog was killed and taken away, the other injured by the hawk. Mountain lions also like to eat people out there because nobody defends themselves. The animals aren't scared of the humans. The humans are scared of the animals, kind of like your government's supposed to be afraid of you, not the other way around. There is liberty where the government is afraid of the people. There is tyranny where the people are afraid of the government. Let me continue. Daily Mail. Giant cannibal shrimp, more than a foot long, invade waters off Gulf Coast. And they believe it's because natural barriers and other predators have been killed by the core exit and the leak. For the first time, a big increase in reports of Asian tiger shrimp along the U.S. southeastern coast and in the Gulf of Mexico has federal biologists worried that species is encroaching on native species. Giant shrimp are gobbling up the little shrimpies. Doesn't matter, they're all deformed and dying anyways. So there is that report. The shrimp are known to eat the smaller cousins, and sightings of the massive crustaceans have gone up tenfold last year, biologists say. Yeah, there's now great whites entering into the Gulf. Continuing, here is the Daily Mail. Again, with that report. Here's the New York Daily News. Swiss woman dies after attempting to live on sunlight. Woman gave up food and water on spiritual journey and lived close to a year. I don't believe that. She had to have been drinking water. She'll die in like a week. I guess some people they torture to death in the hospitals can live up to 20 days sometimes without water. That's how they dehydrate you to death. They call that humane. Wards of the state who can even talk are strapped down and killed that way. But you know what? I'm not bashing Eastern religions and people. My point is a lot of these yogis are making stuff up. They sit under a tree for 10 years and all this baloney. And Westerners, they're reporting in Germany, France, other countries, people are dying. People are dying because they're trying to live off sunlight. And I agree, sunlight is good for you, but you're going to dehydrate and you're going to die. Okay? You're going to die. And these people get so dedicated to the religion. Trust in God, but tie up your camel, as the Bedouins say, or what did Hunter S. Thompson say? Pray to God, but roll away from the rocks. it's like, well, God, why didn't you help me? I bashed into the rocks in my rowboat. It's like, well, because I gave you arms and legs and a brain to row away from that. You do what you can. God will carry you. The universe will carry you the rest of the way. The universe bends towards justice, as Martin Luther King said. But you don't just like, oh, I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to achieve nirvana. And these people are dying. And they will, even as they're dying, they will not believe it. They're like, no, I must have faith. I will become like Yogi Gwiblet or whatever. And then you end up dying. And we come back, more Bizarro news, because I can take the Bizarro news, give it a twist of information. Outrage as Egypt plans farewell intercourse law so husbands can have sex with dead wives up to 6 hours after their death. We've got that linked up at Infowars.com. And it gets crazier after that. I can illustrate things across the board with this. And then we start the next hour. I'll go to your calls. And then the Ron Paul exclusive, only question that got to be asked. And he talks about false flag. I had tried everything. I'd cut those. The good guys lost. But the question is, will we do something about it? Will we speak out against it? Are we going to just go along with total dehumanization of humanity? Everybody knows. Right here, let me just recap. Hawk snatches woman's dog, eats it, injures the other one. In the U.S., giant cannibal shrimp coming into the Gulf of Mexico, gobbling up the other shrimp. Swiss woman dies after attempting to live on sunlight. Woman gave up food and water on spiritual journey. Documenting film in the beginning. There was light, gave her the idea. Continuing, outrage as Egypt plans farewell intercourse law. This is in Reuters. So husbands can have sex with dead wives up to 6 hours after their death. The inmates are taking over the asylum in Egypt. Al-Qaeda light now in charge. Women now with the burqas. And, well, that's how it goes, because you got to give your rights up because Al-Qaeda is going to get you. Oh, war on terror is over, but we're going to expand checkpoints everywhere and stick our hands down your pants. What, you're not going to fly? Speaking of hands down the pants, this is out of a China Daily. Woman kills man, this is a real article, by squeezing his testicles over parking dispute. It caused internal hemorrhaging and he died, and she crushed him and killed him. And I think she should get a job in the U.S. I mean, we had the congressman just this week in San Antonio who's criticized the TSA. For some reason his name eludes me. What's his name? Congressman, the San Antonio congressman. I can't remember it. Canseco. And he said now they know who he is. They call him aside. They get the cops there. Because they have the real, quote, law enforcement power. Of course, he could just citizen arrest all of them, and the congressman knew the law. And they just now crush him. He says they hurt him to teach him. So, I mean, she ought to get a job there. A female scooter rider killed a man by squeezing his testicles for the dispute in Heiko City, Henan province. It was learned the woman, 41 years old, rode on her scooter to the elementary school in the district to pick up her child that day. When she waited to park her scooter in front of the shop, she was rejected by the shop owner, a 42-year-old male. The two parties soon fell into a quarrel, and the physical confrontation took place. The angry woman called up her husband and brother to come help her, which resulted in a violent fistfight. Then she grabbed the man's private parts, squeezed until he collapsed to the ground, dying. And continuing, well, that's a TSA worker right there. I mean, that's freedom. I'm not going to say it. Man ordered to dance moonwalk at gunpoint, police say. This is out of NBC New York. And a man ordered another man to dance the moonwalk or he would shoot him. The guy's facing 20 years in prison for doing that. Well, I mean, if you don't follow a police officer's order, you go to jail. Another citizen arrest, same power. That man should go to jail for not dancing the moonwalk. I mean,